New World player numbers are almost at the lowest that they've ever been, but I think a very strong Days of Copium is just around the corner. So let's talk about it, and we'll talk about my optimism and why people may not agree with me. But there you have it. Before we start though, obviously I do want to thank my YouTube members, but I really want to direct your attention over to Twitch right now. I'm sort of trying to push for partner, so I would absolutely love it if you could come over there and give me a follow. So a lot of you will be familiar with this. This is Steam charts. The graph here is showing the player numbers, and then below we actually have the average player number, the peak, and how much that is a gain and the game percentage. If I zoom all the way out, you'll see what we always knew. We see the launch of the game and then a classic fall. Then with Brimstone and Fresh, we see a bit of a bump. And then if I zoom in a little bit, you'll see a steady decline, apart from a little bump here, which is actually when Season 1 kicks in. And then from Season 1, you can see it's been trending downwards. It's Sunday today, so there's a little bit of a bump right now. Everything is to be expected. One thing I would personally say, that Diablo 4 will probably have had an impact in this, but on the actual player numbers, it doesn't look like that, but I suspect the average players might have gone down, if that makes sense. When did Diablo come out, really? I think it was like around the 1st of June, around there. Like, if you actually look at it, it's not like that line has really trended any more downwards from Diablo 4, and that's interesting in itself. A lot of people really thought Diablo 4 would be a big impact. I think it's having an impact, but I don't think it's really that major. We were going to be trending down at this point anyway. Season 1 has been out now for like 2 and a bit months. Season 2 is just around the corner. And if we scroll down, we have a look at the average players. We can see in the last 30 days, we are at 13,500. And you may notice that the lowest we've ever been is actually 13,300-ish, and that was in July last year. June was the second lowest at 13,600, so we are actually on course for not quite being the lowest, but very nearly. Keep in mind that this basically means that the numbers are going down from May because it's the last 30 days versus May. There's only been 11 days in June, so we could actually end up lower than the July amount. Wouldn't be that unexpected. Now, does this mean that New World is dead? No. That's a little bit dramatic. I think it's significant that Season 1 did get a bit of a bump. There's a question here about how big of a bump will we see from Season 2. Season 2 obviously has our first raids, but apart from that, it's effectively more of the same. There's a lot of little changes in it that I think are actually prep for the expansion, but really it's more of the same, except we have a big raid and we get the 10-man trial as well. Both of which I actually do really like, and I have no idea how much a raid will bring people back, especially when you consider you look at the rewards and there's nothing really amazing there. So I'm a little bit curious how that will do. I think people will come back because people will come back and do the story. I've been doing a little bit of the story on the PTR, looks very interesting. I'm actually skipping through the story because I don't want to spoil it, but the little bits that I'm seeing, yeah, it looks alright, looks interesting. So what do I think will happen next? I think as soon as Season 2 is out, we're probably going to be taking our eyes off that, maybe move a little bit to Transmog. That sounds like it's going to be an intermediary patch. They did say that they thought it could stand alone, and a little bit of me worries, and I've said this in a video and then I deleted it and what have you, but a little bit of me worries that the fact that they're intentionally delaying it, sounds like, rather than technically delaying it, possibly means that they are trying to do a patch between Season 2 and Season 3 / the expansion, because maybe the expansion is getting a little bit of a delay. That's completely speculation. I don't really know if that's true or anything, but the expansion is due in October. Now, a lot of you will realize that I thought we would get a trailer for New World expansion at Summer Games Fest, and that didn't materialize. There's a very slim chance that it come at PC Gamer tonight, but this seems unlikely. However, once Season 2 is done, and we may have had our little bump with whatever little bump comes, then the expansion will be on the table. Whether or not they'll do it in the first month of Season 2, I don't think so. It sounds more like something they'll start speaking about in August, which, a lot of you will remember, August is when they started speaking about Brimstone Sands. And then that released, I think it actually released in November or October. Can't really remember. We had Fresh, we had Brimstone, and then we had Fresh. I think Brimstone may have been October and Fresh might have been a little bit later. Memory fading there. But my point is that they did actually start releasing that information in August. It's very possible that that's what they're going to do with the expansion. Now, my personal opinion, which I'm sure you've already figured out by now, is that that's too late. I think the expansion should have been put in front of as many eyes as possible at Summer Games Fest. But okay, if that's the way that their marketing wants to do it, then fair enough. I can see it working. It's worked before. It's just whether or not they'll get truly enough eyes back on it. To be fair, they have Twitch. They'll be paying the likes of Asmon Golden Shroud to come back. even though they probably would have done anyway. But, you know, they'll be pumping out, they'll be advertising that way. People will know about it. There's literally people who come into my Twitch chat and they don't realize that the expansion's coming. And if you ever go in Asmongold's chat and he talks about New World, people are asking for, when are we getting mounts, etc. Well, we know that's coming in the expansion. So I think the season 3/expansion hype will be huge. I'm guessing it'll be as big as Brimstone, if not even bigger. If anything, I actually think it's bigger than we all anticipate, but I could just be on the absolute pure copium dose there. I was going to make this a little bit of another video, but it's just really not big enough, so I'm just going to whack it in here randomly. This was data mined, and it gets me a little bit excited about the potential of the expansion. Basically, it's some coding that's in the PTR, and you can see it starts talking about open horse shop, lion shop, wolf shop. Sounds like there's going to be some buffs and attachments, and of course these are all equipable. If they nail everything that I think is going to be coming, then they could really be onto something special. If, however, imagine we get the exploits and bugs that we had at launch, it could unfortunately really be the death of New World. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, we might get some bugs and exploits, but I don't think they'll be that significant. I think it's sort of inevitable that you will get some because there'll be more people actually stress testing it, but I think it'll be successful. And for some reason, when I saw this, I got really excited. I'm hoping the expansion is bigger than we all think. It's going to be at least as big as Brimstone, because Katie said that this is the first time they're calling it an expansion, and they're aware of the expectation that comes along with that. It needs to be big, and I think it will be big, but they're just not ready to talk about it yet. I think that's now probably going to be August. Whether or not they'll do it on their own or whether they'll do it at Gamescom, I don't truly know. I'm not going to make any bold predictions because turns out I'm wrong, you know, I've been wrong a few times. I just want to promise that I actually genuinely thought it was going to be coming at Summer Games Fest. As always, big shout out to my YouTube members. You guys are the realest. And of course, as I said at the start, if you really want to help me right now, coming over on Twitch and giving me a follow would be the best thing you can do. I'm streaming as often as I actually can. What you should definitely do though is have a most beautiful day, like and subscribe. Goodbye.